I was 12 years old, and all I remember is the shouting, and I see my uncle killed, that's all, and my mother screaming. I photographed Zaina in North Minneapolis. In each of these stories that you've seen, I meet with refugees, I visit with them for very long periods of time. The process of the portrait is very emotional one, and it's a very trusting relationship in which it's talking and learning about each other and sharing about each other, and then eventually their guard goes down enough that they begin to project something in a portrait that feels real. And that willingness of them to be open to that has always been the great gift of my work, that people have this generosity of spirit, that they share the most difficult experience of themselves with another person. And the stories come from the transcripts of those interviews, and I go through those transcripts and I find what I consider to be found poems, or these little bits of verse that come out. They have this rhythm about them, they have a certain statement to them, and I use those then as the accompanying story of the work. But when I sat with Zaina, I sat and had talked to her after taking her photograph for about a half hour, and that is every word she said. And as a journalist, I left that meeting, and I walked out with my tail between my legs. I failed. I interviewed someone for that long, and that's all she said. And that was all she could say. Her parents described her as a once very vivacious 12-year-old girl who now, from her experiences, has a lot of post-traumatic stress, is a very quiet young woman, and for her to sit with me that long was an excruciating process for her and an incredible act of generosity. And while I had that beautiful personal experience, I wondered, how can I translate this for an audience? I'm a journalist, that's what I do. I interview people, I get them to talk to me, and this is all I have. And I've got a photo, but I have no story. And then by the time I got to the car, I realized that no, I had it all. That Zaina said in those few words everything I needed to know. And in particular, she said, and my mother screaming. When I reflected on those statements, I reflected on my own life. When I was in high school, my father went missing, and we couldn't find him. We searched for him all night, to no avail. And eventually, in the wee dark hours of the night, we got the phone call that my father was dead, and my mother screamed. I will never forget that scream, as Zaina will never forget her mother's scream. And in that moment, the two of us, sitting together in story, a middle-aged white guy in Minnesota was connected to a young woman in Baghdad. And that what our empathy is that ability and that capacity to become vulnerable to each other. And in that vulnerability, we discover our common connection, and most importantly, we discover ourselves. And so what this work tries to do then is to make a space for that shared story. That when we sit in front of a piece of art, or we engage a person's story, we do that in a way that opens ourselves up to that possibility of finding ourselves in another. And so I'm trying through that work to engage the empathetic imagination. And as you